Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and today we're going to go over what's happening with California and Trump. Let's get into it. So first, in order to understand what's happening right now, we have to use the method of comparison. Comparing is very important, and that's how you get to determine what is what. So when you're comparing, the only time comparing is wrong is when you're comparing apples and oranges. If you're comparing apples and oranges, of course, it's not going to make any sense. The orange is going to look at the apple and is going to be like, why am I not red? And the apple is going to look at the orange and be like, why am I not orange? That's not going to work. Okay? But you still need the law of comparison. Like you need to see what a bird looks like to know that that's a fish and that's a bird, right? You'll never know if a fish is a fish if you don't compare it. And you're like, okay, well, that's a bird, that's a fish. Now, once you've compared what is what, then you can take the fish and not compare it to other fish. And that's how you're going to be able to determine, is it healthy? Well, let's look at it. Well, what is the, healthy fish quality of that species? You take the healthy fish, you compare it with your current fish, and then you can see, is your current fish healthy or is it not healthy compared to the healthy fish, right? So, it sounds really bobo, but it's the law of comparison. You need it in life. I don't understand how people are like, you can't use this. No, you should definitely use it. But again, you don't use it where it's biased, Let's say I have a podcast and for years and years, I'm putting out, shows and sessions, but then I have the Illuminatis blocking me, right? If I'm comparing to somebody that signed with the Illuminatis and has a audience automatically and then builds based on that audience that they have already set up, because the growth comes after the foundation has been set up. But if people like me are putting a foundation and we're getting blocked, then of course I can't compare myself to that podcaster. Why? Because that podcaster sold their souls and they got a lot of freebies and I didn't. So you see, even if we're both in the same field of service, of information, it's quite different when you're comparing because one is biased and the other one is authentic, right? So that's why comparing doesn't work if the person's cheating. Comparing doesn't work if the person took a shortcut. Comparing didn't work if the person went to the boss and said, I'll do anything if you give it to me. Then comparison doesn't work. And this is where people have it wrong. But the method of comparison works. And this is what we're going to use for today's lesson. Okay? So today's lesson is, what is Trump doing and why is it such a mess? And I'm going to explain it for everyone to understand because I can see it doesn't look good and it doesn't look like he's doing good, and you can see the effects that also doesn't look good. So, you know what? I'm happy to make this video because I understand exactly what's going on. So let's take me as an example. I grew up in like a very metropolitan city, and at some point of my life, my mom took the kids and we moved to what I call the middle of nowhere. And yes, I've lived in the middle of nowhere of Canada. That trust me when I tell you, people will understand what I mean by that. Because there's the middle of nowhere, like Topanga, and then there's middle of nowhere, like the suburbs of Canada. So I had my adolescence there. I wasn't happy when we moved there in the beginning, but now that I'm older, I understand what I've learned from it. First, I didn't have a problem because I kept on taking the car and driving downtown Montreal. So I was like, it doesn't matter. It's just a longer drive, but at least I still have access to the city. But growing up, we didn't have pavements. They were building houses like Legos in the middle of nowhere, chopping off forests, and we didn't have pavements. It was that minimal, that tribal, we were living one with the nature. So what did I see growing up like that? In the beginning, and it's not growing up, it was just a few years. After that, I hit like, 16, 17, and I was always in Montreal. But from 11 to, let's say, 16, I was raised in a very suburban area of Montreal, of Canada. So I saw every mom and pop shop in that town was local. You would go to the fruits and vegetable store. Like, it wasn't a grocery store. It was the fruits and vegetable stores. Like, it was just fruits and vegetable. Then you would go to the grocery, which had like your milk, and we also would go to the cows to get the milk. But we also had groceries that had the milk and the eggs and the cheese and the extra stuff. Then we had like a bike shop for bikes. We had a car mechanic for cars. Like, you had everything for everything. One service for everything, And that is the best quality in life you can get. So again, not tribal, not we don't have anything, but no, tribal. And then you have your commerce. You have your bike shop, your car shop, you have everything. However, one of each, not a one-stop shop that has everything, okay? And I'm going to get to that. So that's the best quality of life. One shop for each of your need. And this is why back in the day we had, so-and-so shoemaker as a name, because there used to be the shoemaker of the town, So the names used to match what the families would do. And it's so interesting because when I would go to Turkey, I saw that some of them still remained, they took the names from a very long time, and you can see their family is matching the name. The name says what the family's passion or talent is. So let's say it's a bike shop, right? They're fixing bikes. So anyways, what happened? Walmart came in. And I remember that. Walmart came in and everyone was like, Walmart, what's Walmart? And then we found out what Walmart is, and then everyone loved it, right? Everybody went to the Walmart from that town. So what happened? One by one, the shops closed. And I remember I used to go to the bike shop, and the guys were super sad. And I asked them what happened. And they said that, this is our closeout week. We have to close. And I said, why? You've been here for years and years. And they said, we can't compete with Walmart prices. And he was right. There is no way, because I actually left him and I went to Walmart. Right? And this is what's happening with Amazon. But anyways, I'm not going to go too far. So what happens? All the locals close because you can't compete. You cannot compete. When you're hand building a bike, that's taking you weeks and weeks. You can't compete with a manufacturer that builds that in a second and for a third of the price. It's impossible. So what happens? Then communities break down. That's how you break down a community, by having to go outside. So now you have to go outside for your fruits and vegetables. We had them. They were right there, and they were fresh picked from the morning. But nobody, wants to do the work of going to 10 different places. So now they just go to this one Walmart and they get all their needs met. Okay? So what I saw is the evolution of that town. But it didn't evolve to the best thing. It just evolved to having a huge Walmart, having these big, large stores, and all the mom and pop shops closed. And for jobs, everyone drove to Montreal. Everyone had to drive to Montreal because there's no jobs. Nobody's going to go work at Walmart. And if you know the Walmart conditions, there's a reason why seniors work at Walmart, because it's not good conditions. Young people don't want to have that kind of paychecks and no breaks and this and that, So unfortunately, the old people, they're retired, they have nothing to do, they go work there. So trust me, it's not helping anybody. It's not helping anybody. It's just helping the Walmart owner, which everybody knows he's the greediest person on this planet. So, wipes out everybody, okay? So now we understand how business works. If I come and sell the same product for cheaper, it doesn't matter if the quality is lower. Unfortunately, people work hard for their money. They're going to go towards the cheaper product. When you buy cheaper things for yourself, you get to buy more expensive things for your children. So everyone cheapens out when it comes to themselves, and when it comes to their children, they go to Walmart and they buy like 1 billion toys for Christmas instead of one, And you can understand where people are coming from. Everybody wants to spoil their children. Everybody wants a one-stop shop, So now we've discovered what the problem is. Now we have to go to China. Walmart is China. Listen, I go to Costco. Half of Costco is China. And it makes no sense because they're charging us $65 membership and we're going and buying stuff from China. If you're charging membership, then technically you should have everything local. But, I'm not going to get into that because that's just a business, method. We don't have to use it. Even if it's being used, we don't have to use it. So that's a method that I don't agree, but it's a method that's really, really successful. So how do you stop this as a president? You can't go and be like, you can't open Walmart. You can't. You can't go and be like, Walmart, you can't open here. Walmarts are everywhere and they're connected with FEMA and they're, hands deep in the government, CIA. So you can't do anything with Walmart. You can't tell them to stop opening shop. So, second in command is Gavin Newsom. So Gavin Newsom is the governor of California. And let me tell you, living here since 2007, I can tell you he's horrible. He's horrible. Not only that he's not doing his job, he's selling us out to all the people that want to burn us and this and that. But anyways, I'm not going to get into that. But that's the problem. So January 7, 2019, he assumed office. Okay? So Gavin, since 2019, he is in office. It's funny, right before the corona, Gavin gets into office. Then 2020, corona happens, disaster. He showed us how much of a bad leader he is. So what happened? The people started a recall petition. I know, because I signed it. It was going around and it was huge. Trust me, I thought after this recall, this guy was going to be out. That's how convinced I was about this petition. Not only that the recall didn't work, he apparently won the recall. I don't know how. How do you win a recall? But he won the votes of the recall as well. You can see the corruption. And gained office again in 2022. The recall was in 2021 after we saw that he couldn't do his job. And in 2022, he apparently won the recall. I don't know. I don't know how that is even possible. But anyways. So he won it. So now he's going to be in office till January 4th, 2027. 2027. January 4th, 2027. We can't kick him out. We tried. We can't. The government can't kick him out because it's the people that have to kick him out. This guy is elected and he's going to sit there until 2027. So Trump can't kick him out. So what happens? What happens if a president has to work with a manager that they don't like and they cannot fire? This will not happen in regular companies because you can always fire. But this is government. It's corrupt, Like I said, these lizards own both sides, So you can't compare that to a regular company where the 51% of the shareholder can go and fire whoever he or she sees fit. But that's not the way the government works. So what does the government have to do? He can't force Gavin to clean the waters. He cannot. Because he's going to give money to Gavin and Gavin's going to go spend it on his whatever, So he can't give him money. If he gives him money, he's going to keep spending it on other things because that's what he's been doing. And don't forget, California is the 4th largest GDP in the world. It's not even a country. As a state, it's comparing itself to countries and it's beating countries. It's right now at number 4. So trust me when I tell you, Trump doesn't need to give him money. He doesn't. From the state tax, from his own money, he has enough money. He doesn't need funds from federal to do his job. I can assure you that. But unfortunately, he's not spending the money well. So what do the president have to do, unfortunately? Exactly. Cut the funds. No choice. No choice. So once he cuts the funds, now let's see what Gavin's going to do till 2027. Because don't forget, he has no more funds now. Okay? So no more funds coming in. Gavin has till 2027 now with no money, right? Because his own money, he's spending it crazy. He owes so many people. Trust me, so many people want this guy dead. So many people want this guy dead. So he owes a lot of people a lot of money, and now he can't pay them, right? Like his own money is not enough. So we're all going to watch him go down, and we're going to watch California go down. But it's a consequence, don't get upset. We don't have, this is why it's called draining the swamp. We have to drain the swamp. But how do you drain the swamp? You got to, take away the water. You take away the water, and the water goes away, and all the parasites come out. So he's draining the swamp by unplugging the money. So once the money goes low, California is going to have to find fruits and vegetables locally. We're going to have to fight from bottom up, because if we fight from, let's say if we do a recall petition every year, eventually he's going to have to leave. So now what Trump's doing is he's making the pressure come from the bottom, because he can't come, it can't come from the top. Don't forget, all of these people are part of the same cult. They have agreements that they can't go against each other on certain things. Okay. So even if, let's say, lizard number 1 is for the people and lizard number 2 isn't for the people, lizard number 1 cannot go against lizard number 2. Okay. Because they're both lizards. They're both part of the cult. So what happens is he's going to pull the plug from the top. The people are going to get angry from the bottom. Chaos is going to happen from the bottom, and Gavin is going to get sandwiched. He's going to get the pressure from the top and the pressure from the bottom, and then the laws of physics is going to have to push him out. Eventually, he's going to have to. It's the laws of physics. If you have pressure from the top and pressure from the bottom, that's how you wipe away a manager, by the way. So, don't use it for badness, but this is what a lot of companies do. They put the manager in a messed up situation. The manager doesn't handle it well. The president knows that the manager is not going to handle it well, because the president knows the manager very well. They know his or her weak spot. So they do that, and then they're like, look, you didn't handle that very well. You're out. So, it's manipulation. And I tell people all the time, don't manipulate, If you don't like a manager and what they're doing, let them know. Tell them, I don't like what you're doing. This is how you need to change. And then if they don't change, you fire them. There's no manipulation. It was clear. I'm hiring you for this job. If you cannot do the job, I have to let you go. This is way better than hiring a manager and then manipulating them, making them do whatever you want, and then, trapping them out with manipulation so they can leave. This is not the method that Trump's going to use. I'm telling you. He's just going to cut the funds. Pressure is going to kick this person out. And this is why he has till 2027. And I think this is why he's going to enforce whatever he wants to enforce on his last year, because he's on his way out. So whenever he tries to enforce whatever he wants to enforce during his last year, we push him out. We make sure he leaves with his solution. And trust me, it's going to get easier with time. I know that the times look really bad now, but it's going to get easier with time. And I want oranges from Orange County. Please give me an orange from here. I don't want to, I eat oranges from China. They taste like water, So anyways, trust me, it's for the best. Everything's going to go back to local, but for things to go back to local, Walmart, everything has to fall. Everything has to fall. And I'm hoping Amazon falls, because if Walmart did that to a town, imagine what Amazon will do to all of LA. And I see Amazon trucks here every day. I don't understand how people can pay $20 a month here for just Amazon when, they don't have $20 for other things, but they have it for Amazon. I see it. $20 a month is a lot for people that don't have money, So to spend that just so you can have free delivery in 2 days instead of 5 days is ridiculous. But I see the cars driving all the time. So trust me when I tell you, the mom and pop shops here are also going to close eventually with time. And downtown is going to close eventually with time if this continues. So this is why it's important to regulate. But how do you regulate? By pulling the plug, or next topic, by putting tariffs. Okay? So he pulled the plug. That's all he can do internally. Now, tariff, that's global. So what is a tariff? Let's first explain what a tariff is. A tariff is like a tax. It's not a tax. A tax is a tax on everything. Anyone that comes here has to pay a tax, right? It's on everything. A tariff is a tax on import-export. Okay, so it's only on import-export. And this is done specifically. And this is why certain countries have certain percentage and other countries have other percentage. It's not because it's not fair. It has nothing to do with that. The percentage are according to the currency and the country, you know? So as an example, I've been to China many times. And China is very extreme. You'll go to Hong Kong. Hong Kong is futuristic. Futuristic. Hong Kong is so beautiful. I loved Hong Kong. I loved the Macau. You know, like towns like, Shanghai. Those are really, really nice. But then you go to mainland China, like take a bus from Hong Kong and go to Shenzhen. As soon as you arrive to Shenzhen, and even Shenzhen is close to Hong Kong, so I'm pretty sure now it's nice. But 20 years ago, Shenzhen was mainland China. Mainland China. And when I say mainland China, like you have to be there to understand it, you know, like red lights doesn't mean red lights at all. And there's no cops like giving tickets, you know. So when I'm telling you chaotic, and they're really good driving in that. So trust me when I tell you they're expert drivers because they can drive there. I couldn't drive there. I was freaked out. I was freaked out because mainland, there's no law, you know. I saw a bus do a U-turn in a highway. On a highway. A bus filled with people. He was doing a U-turn. But anyways, this was 20 years ago. I'm pretty sure things have changed. But my point is not to criticize the country. My point is to criticize the economy. Okay? When I was there, I saw many, many different manufacturers. I was getting tours of manufacturers. And I saw a lot of people living in those manufacturers. The conditions are really bad. You know, they live there because for them, that pays well. Because don't forget, it's in their own currency. So they come from, let's say, even more mainland China. They come to Shenzhen and they're the lucky ones. They're the ones that made it, the ones working in these manufacturers. They're the ones that have money to send back home. Horrible, horrible conditions, and I've seen it. So when I'm going to Costco and I'm purchasing a sparkling drink, let's say I'm purchasing a strawberry sparkling drink, I see that that's from China. I'm telling you, half of Costco is from China. Now, why is my sparkling drink from China? It makes no sense. We have water here, and we got machines that make sparkling water, right? So you put them together, you can make this drink in my living room. Why is it coming from China? It's because of the tariffs. It's costing them 10 cents to make it, and they're shipping it here for 20 cents, right? So that's 30 cents. And then they're charging me $1, so they're making 70 cents every time I'm drinking this one thing, right? So they're the ones making the money. For me, that drink is $1 no matter what, right? If it's made in my living room or if it's made in China, that's going to cost me $1 no matter what. So that doesn't change anything for me. But now China gets their sparkling water in America. And by the way, it's not just water. It has like 50 different ingredients in the back. I don't even know half of these things are. But it's made in China. Why? Because there's no tariffs. They can ship anything they want here and they just pay the tax, right? Which is not good. So that's why their tariff is 125%, which is ridiculous. True, ridiculous. But it's not ridiculous when your product costs 5 cents. So if you take 5 cents and you charge 125, percent on that 5 cents becomes what? Like 12 cents? Trust me, it doesn't break their bank. It doesn't break their business. It just balances everything out. Okay? So we must have our oranges from here. If we don't make apples, then I'll import my apples. That's how Montreal is. Wintertime, nothing grows there. Everything in the grocery stores are all imported, But summertime, then you can go and get your own stuff. Like, right? It's a question of balance. If you don't have it, you only import it if you don't have it. You don't import it when you have already abundance here, right? That's extra shipment, extra oil, extra, leakage in the ocean. Like, you have to find the root of the problem and unplug there. To do damage control after the damage is a never-ending battle, okay? Every problem has a solution at the root. If you don't fix the solution at the root, the problem will always come back. So right now, he's derooting everything. And this is why it looks chaotic. This is why it looks like he's gone crazy and he's defunding everything. Trust me, he's not checkmating us. He's checkmating Gavin. He's checkmating China. He's checkmating whoever that wants to control us. Okay? No matter what Trump has done in the past, no matter what, at the end of the day, he's just trying to make America great again. That's all he can do. He's not Superman. He's not God. He's not going to come and save everybody. He can't. He's in, part of the system, but he's trying as much as possible to fix it within his capabilities. Don't forget, he's just human, and he's, surrounded by corrupted people. So it's also very difficult for him, So we have to understand everybody, but at the same time, we have to understand California has gone way too far, and now we got to unplug so that people within California figure things out, and then we start to rebuild. Because Gavin's just going to rebuild his smart city. He's not going to rebuild anything else, right? So while he's rebuilding his smart city, we got to rebuild here. Okay? And this is why it's unity. It's everybody has a role, no matter where you live, no matter where you live, no matter what position you're in, or no matter how corrupted you are. We all have a role to play. Okay? So trust me when I tell you, we're all going to get through this, because we're catching everything as it's happening. So it's just a moment of time. It's a question of time. And let me tell you, I've worked with many presidents my entire life. The best one that I've seen, because I've only been here since 2007. So the best one that I've seen since 2007 is Trump. Trust me when I tell you, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He knows what's affecting America. He knows how to fix it. And he's going to bring everything back here. And don't worry, apparently there's not a lot of people for the manufacturer jobs. Don't worry. There's not a lot of people because the manufacturer fired them. The manufacturer fired them and they went elsewhere. So of course these people left. But if the manufacturer are fully operating, trust me, come and open a manufacturer here and say that you need 10,000 people. You'll get applications. Trust me. Don't be picky though. Don't be like, I want 10,000 expert engineers. No. Just say you want 10,000 people and trust me, everyone will run to you. So it's not a question, if anything, there's even more people in America today, which means if there's more people, if the population is growing, if there's more children, we need more jobs. And trust me when I tell you, from the age of 16 to let's say 21, I did minimum paying jobs. I did restaurants and stores and manufacture. I worked at an aluminum factory, at some point. I worked in all kinds of jobs. That's what students do. That's what young people do, So trust me when I tell you, a lot of people are looking for jobs. They just don't want crappy jobs, They don't want jobs where they have to work 12 hours, because trust me, we do things like that in America. We work these people 12 hours and there's no organization that comes and says, hey, that's not fair. But you can make them work 7 days in a row. There's no law stopping that. So trust me when I tell you, we don't need to be more productive. We need to be smarter. We need to keep everything local. Why not? In my opinion, we have the best. We're the most blessed country, in my opinion. This is why I decided to move here. I could have moved to France. People from Quebec have automatic citizenship in Europe. Automatic. I could have moved to France anytime and not even have to work for sponsorship. I came to America, worked for 10 years. It's very difficult. I did it, but it's very difficult. Always finding companies that are willing to give you sponsorship, then finding lawyers to do these sponsorships, then having to every time drive to the customs to renew your sponsorship. Listen, it's a lot of work. It was very difficult for me. And I remember my lawyer told me you can just marry somebody and have it. And I didn't want to go down that route. I already had one divorce. I don't want to marry just for papers. So I took the long road. But trust me when I tell you, there's a reason why I did this. I didn't do this, for Amsterdam. I didn't do this for France. I didn't do this for London. No offense. I did this for Los Angeles. And I would gladly do it again, even with the messed up waters. That's how much I love this place. Okay? I adore this place. I've gone all over the world and this is my home, right? And it's not because I'm hard-headed. It's because I've seen the world and I can tell you, in my opinion, this is the whole package. So when you have the whole package, you don't go elsewhere. You don't go to China to go find 10 cents drinks. You don't go to, whatever, Bangladesh for your oranges. When you have everything that you need and more, we stay local. We have no reason to go elsewhere. And again, like I said, Montreal is cold. They have no choice. They have to import their fruits and vegetables because during winter, everything's dead. We only have potatoes. Okay? They have to. We don't. We have all 4 seasons on demand. We have everything. Okay? So for someone that has everything, there's no reason to go out, import, export. So if they want to import, export, put the 125% tariff. These things are so cheap, it's not fair for anybody, any of us. Okay? So this is why the cheating has to stop. This is why the backstabbing, the importing, the trafficking of the children, all of this has to stop. Okay? All of this has to stop, and we have to go back to being human and simply reach out for the needs that you for the needs that you really need. If you don't need 10 apples, then don't go for the 10th apple. If you have 1 apple and you're happy with your apple, then, be happy with your apple. Compare yourself with other people that don't have the apple, right? And then you'll feel better. So trust me when I tell you, comparing is great when it's the natural laws of nature, right? If someone worked really hard to get what they got, I want to be like that. I don't want to be like the people that took a shortcut to get there, So comparing is wonderful. You get to see what you want in life, and then you get to choose the path that leads you there by comparing. So once me and my best friend at the time, and I've had a lot of best friends, and the reason why I've had a lot of best friends is because I've moved a lot, and a lot of people get married, they have children. So it's called evolution. Hey, listen, I've never known anyone that had the same friends for like 20 years. If you have, trust me when I tell you, it's because you're in the same evolutional path. The friends I had in high school, I still talk to them, but I don't relate to them the way I relate to my friends today. Even if I didn't meet my friends today that long ago, I relate with my new friends way more than when I relate with my friends of 20 years back, because 20 years back, we talk about the things we used to do, right? But with my new friends, I'm learning new things. So comparing is great. Changing atmospheres is great. Changing friends is a wonderful growth, lesson, but it has to be with the law of attraction. It has to be people that come onto your path and show you a new way. Right? So comparing is wonderful. Having many different friends throughout your life is wonderful. That means your evolutionary path is exponential, because when it's exponential, people can't keep up, right? They're just going to fall off, and then you're going to have other people come in. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with the chaotic scene right now, because you need chaos in order to find order. Okay? So I hope this video helped people that are concerned. Again, as long as you have a roof over your head, you have food to eat, and you have your car to travel, you have everything you need. Everything else is extra. Everything else is fluff. So just work hard towards what you want, and everything will work out. And this, my friend, will show you with time. We'll reconnect again in 2027 and have another video about the before and after. So, thank you very much, and on to the next one. Ciao.